everyone, this is Fantasy-esque, and welcome back to Season 2 of Royal Clan in ClanGen, the Warrior Cats clan generator game. When we left off in the previous episode, we had a second rejection in a row for Magpie, one of our sweet cats, who has kind of been developing feelings for Quillrunner, and she thought it was mutual because he's consistently been there for her in her difficult periods. Apparently it was not. Not once, but twice. So last episode was the second time she got rejected, and I think that really was a hit to her self-esteem and her feelings. So there was that, and then we had our royal apprentice age up into a warrior. So Freezefur had his ceremony. He got the title of the Freeze Prince, which was very exciting. And then I said that I was going to play off camera until we had a pregnancy notice. So we are back. It means we do have good news, but we have actually come back to a very, very dramatic moon, and that is after some things have already happened in the clan. So I have a few notes about the major events for, the moons that I was playing off camera, and I'm going to quickly go over them before we continue. And you guys, from the title, but also from the state of some of the cats, a lot of the cats, you might get an idea of what's happened. So it was moon 70 when we left off. On moon 72, and this broke my heart, Magpie was taking a walk in the forest when she was slashed in the face by long claws. Later, Royal Clan found only blood and the scent of a predator at the scene. And like I was saying, she's been through some stuff. She's been through a really poor relationship. She had, thankfully, a very good bond with her son, Freezefur, and she was harboring some feelings for Quillrunner, and she got rejected twice, and after the second rejection, she was feeling very down. And then one day she woke up, and she was actually in a really good mood, and the day was bright, and she didn't want to stay in the grotto. She thought she'd go out for a walk, and then she caught the scent of something strange. And she kind of recoiled from that, but before she could kind of move away or make a run for it, she got slashed in the face by whatever it was. And then later on, all the clan could find when she didn't come back, and I imagine her son Freezefur, who cares about her the most, was the one to say, "My mother's not back yet. She went for a walk. Where is she?" And then the clan only found, her blood and the scent of a predator, and they couldn't even bring her body back to her son in the clan, which is so heartbreaking. She deserved a better life. And then on moon 75, the clan saved a she-cat named Flower from a dog, and she joined Servant Clan. So we do actually have yet another female servant with us, which is absolutely amazing, because you guys know we were in a rough patch for a bit. We were in a rough patch because we didn't have any available females to breed with. But I think this season our luck has been really good with finding females, and we've started to build up our numbers, so we do have a sense of security. And it is now moon 76, so it's been 6 moons since we left off, and I think we're in the second turn of Greenleaf. We were in the second turn of Leaf Bear in the last episode. But like I was saying, we are continuing with a very, very dramatic start. So, let's go straight to events, I think, before we head to the leader's den this time around. So guys, Royal Clan has no right hand. Royal Clan does not have enough healthy royal physicians, cats will be sick/hurt for longer and have a high chance of dying. And then the news. One day, King Fernstar is found dead in the leader's den, never to rise again. Seems he lost the rest of his lives to old age. The leader has no lives left and has traveled to Star Clan. And then, Queen Garlic Star has received the 9 lives and become the new leader of the clan. They feel like they are not ready for this new responsibility, but will try their best to do what is right for the clan. And we need to take a look at her leader ceremony. And then on top of that, following that very, very sudden announcement, obviously, a sorrowful announcement, we had something bittersweet because Queen Garlic Star, announced that she's expecting kids. It's time to settle into the nursery and make sure everything is perfectly prepared. And I feel like the timing could not be more perfect for this, because I think it's even more special that she's having her litter as a queen rather than as, a noble who was the right hand. So I'm excited for Garlic Star. I cannot wait to see what she gets up to, how she is as leader, even though I'm very concerned. I'm actually very concerned because she's troublesome. But I'm also kind of intrigued to see what direction she might go in. And then her kittens, of course. So there is a lot of excitement to be had. Flailstorm's lungs finally feel back to normal. Flailstorm and I think Ghostfeather actually a couple moons back fell into the river at the same time and got water in their lungs. I think Ghostfeather already healed from this, and now Flailstorm's lungs are back to normal, which is good. Rumors reach your clan that the exiled Mantis has died recently, so one of the male servants. Frostfade has gotten heat exhaustion. Foxclaw no longer has a running nose. Oh, never mind. So Ghostfeather and Flailstorm got water out of their lungs at the same time. So there's no longer water in Ghostfeather's lungs. He's back to breathing normally. And then of course the cats and them being hit by Fernstar's death. Scorchmoss feels like the loss of Fernstar has torn part of her heart out. Cats offer her comfort and care. She refuses all of it. Part of Icicle Spec assumed nothing bad could ever happen to Royal Clan when King Fernstar was there. With him gone, how will they carry on? He can't be bothered to get up out of his nest the next day, refusing to speak a word to those around him. King Fernstar, dead? But Shining Stripe shakes his head, bewildered. They spoke just a sunrise ago, Shining Stripe insists. In the days to come, he barely stirs from his nest. Bearpelt had always looked up to Fernstar, King Fernstar, and the sight of his dead body doesn't feel real. The vigil that night is numb and cold. Once night comes and he falls asleep, the Bearpelt desperately wails King Fernstar's name, movements frantic as he struggles, refuses to accept his death. Oh, this one hits me. Foxclaw fusses gently with his father, King Fernstar's fur, hiding the evidence of what killed him. He wants to remember him as he was in life, not like this. Cats come to him afterwards, offering him the biggest, juiciest pieces of fresh kill, but he refuses it all, staring at the walls of his den in silence. The past moon, King Fernstar has taken their place in StarClan. Royal Clan mourns their loss, and their clanmates will miss the spot they took up in their lives. Moments of their life are shared in stories around the circle of mourners, as those that were closest to them take them to their final resting place. So that is what we have with our major events. Now, the reason why I am kind of intrigued by Garlic Star is because she's the first queen we've ever had in the history of Royal Clan. We've had 2 kings, and she's the 3rd monarch to take power and the first queen. So I'm excited to see how that's kind of gonna, affect us. But okay, the cats, as you can see, a lot of them are mourning the death of the king. Some of these cats, they were his loyalists, some of them were his anti-loyalists. In fact, I haven't changed anything right now, because I haven't taken a look at the loyalties for Garlic Star just yet. I'm going to be quite fascinated to see what's going on there. But among his loyalists, Icicle Spec, Shining Stripe, Bearpelt, and Foxclaw have really been, hit by his death. And among his anti-loyalists, we have Frostfade and Scorchmoss, who have kind of been hit by his death, I think. So, yeah. I'm also very intrigued to see how the cats are going to feel about Garlic Star. So, okay, let's go to the Medicine Cat Den. Actually, Frostfade, has heat exhaustion. I think Scorchmoss is the only anti-loyalist who is actually... I think she's the, only anti-loyalist who's actually mourning King Fernstar. That's probably because she spent, very many moons under his leadership. And they were, of a similar age, so I can kind of see how... losing someone you've known for such a long time, regardless of how close you are, or whether or not you believe in them, that would kind of affect you a lot. Okay, Medicine Cat Den. Rosemary was used for King Fernstar's body. Scorchmoss was given time as treatment for grief-stricken. Icicle Spec was given time as treatment for grief-stricken. Flailstorm was given juniper as treatment for water in their lungs, and then he recovered from that. Shining Stripe was given thyme as treatment for grief-stricken. Bearpelt was given thyme as treatment for grief-stricken. Foxclaw was given ragwort as treatment for running nose, and then he recovered from that. Foxclaw was given thyme as treatment for grief-stricken. Ghostfeather was given juniper as treatment for water in their lungs, and then he recovered from that. Okay, we still have a ton of time left. Okay, let's take a look at relationships. I wonder if Fernstar did anything before he passed on, or if he passed on kind of right at the beginning of the moon. Okay, no, he did do some things. Flailstorm respects King Fernstar's opinion despite disagreeing with it. King Fernstar and Inkfeather played around during patrol and got in a bit of trouble, but still returned to camp smiling. Oh my goodness. You know, for the entirety of Fernstar's relationship with Inkfeather, I was always very mad at him for the way he treated her and the fact that he never gave her the time of day and recognized the love that she had for him. But I suppose when he started kind of feeling as though he might be on his last leg, or maybe he had an inkling that life was fading and life was fading fast, he decided to indulge Inkfeather, you know, for one afternoon and go out on a patrol with her and just get into a bit of trouble, make her happy, and be with her the way that she's always wanted, but he, like, in a way that he could never kind of bring himself to do. Maybe because he wanted to leave without guilt, and he wanted to leave Inkfeather with a memory of them actually being happy together. Ugh. Okay. Flarefreckle seems respectful of Scorchmoss's boundaries of late. Scorchmoss is amazed at how skilled Frostfade really is. Icicle Speck is really surprised that Bearpelt's life isn't as easy as he thought it was. Icicle Speck protects Foxclaw from something on a patrol. Shining Stripe doesn't say sorry when bumping into Flailstorm. Flailstorm is always happy to be around Bearpelt. Shining Stripe notices his brother Bearpelt failed to complete a simple task. Shining Stripe pretends not to see Ghostfeather cough up a hairball. Flarefreckle is talking with her brother Shining Stripe. Flarefreckle is surprised when Foxclaw compliments her. Bearpelt warns his nephew Quillrunner about something on the ground so Quillrunner doesn't trip. Bearpelt said something really rude to Freezefur. Ghostfeather calls out the clan for targeting Inkfeather. So his mother, he's being defensive of his mother. Inkfeather was being condescending towards Freezefur all day long. Scorchmoss mentions that Quillrunner looks good today. Frostfade is surprised by Shining Stripe being thoughtful. Foxclaw and Quillrunner chat idly about the latest meeting. Ghostfeather is talking with Frostfade. Freezefur asks Flarefreckle about a lie Flarefreckle told, but she dodges the question. Queen Garlicstar, so at this point it seems he's passed on, so really the last thing that King Fernstar did was go on a patrol with Inkfeather and try and give her a bit of happiness, like leave her with a happy memory of them smiling together. And then he's passed on, and obviously Queen Garlicstar has taken power. Queen Garlicstar realized that she was too harsh in her judgment of Inkfeather. I suppose Garlicstar now probably is feeling quite a bit of sympathy and very bad for Inkfeather, given the loss that she's just felt. And the fact, if you think about from Inkfeather's perspective, she probably didn't know that King Fernstar was dying, and she probably thought this was the beginning of something new, like she's always been wanting Fernstar to look back at her, and he finally did, and he was talking to her, and they were playing around together, and she thought things were going to start changing for the better, but in fact it was his goodbye. Freezefur forgot something that Queen Garlicstar asked him to remember. Scorchmoss. Okay, so this is when obviously all the clan members start mourning King Fernstar's death. That was a bit rough. That was a bit rough. Okay, so this is all we have for events. Let's wrap up over here and then jump over to the cat list. I need to check everyone's loyalties towards Queen Garlicstar. We need to go ahead and also take a look at her leader ceremony. And I think that is... Oh yeah, and we also, actually, we should do this now before I forget. We need to go and check out what focus she's going to have now as leader of the clan, because King Fernstar, his focus was helping other clans, and obviously it makes sense we do this now because this is also going to affect the way other cats feel about whether or not they're going to be loyal to her and whether or not they approve of her as leader. So with her being a troublesome cat who is incredibly clever, definitely would not help other clans. I feel like maybe should sabotage. Typically our troublesome cats sabotage the other clans. I think that's probably what she'd do as well. She would want to sabotage the other clans because, I mean, Garlic Star was also an anti-loyalist when it comes to King Fernstar, and I think she was maybe of the idea that the forest is such a wonderful, abundant place for the royals, and the royals themselves, you know, live such a wonderful life that the life they live should be preserved against any threat of change, and that change is from these like independent cat groups who might one day decide they want to overthrow the royals. And so she feels as though they need to make sure that they're constantly on their toes, sabotaging the other clans so that they stay a step behind and, you know, one step beneath. This might be the beginning of the end, guys. I think from what we have seen across our other clans, especially Luminous Clan, if there is a lesson to be learned, it is that once you enter an age of war, things start going downhill. Once you have a troublesome leader on the throne for a long time, things start going downhill. If you remember a lesson from Godzilla, yeah? It's kind of funny how it's the outsiders who come in with that troublesome personality that kind of turn things around for us. But we haven't talked about this ever since coming into Royal Clan, but the whole idea of Royal Clan is to essentially continue the royal bloodlines that were established in the beginning, of which we only have, I think, 5 left. And that's the whole goal of these cats, is to like thrive, to flourish, and to make sure that the royalty they have, right, that is preserved, and that the cats who reign over the forest and live in the forest are the royal cats, because they believe they're the only ones who can bring order to all the other cats who live in the forest. So yeah, things to think about, but definitely I think the current leader, Queen Garlic Star, she doesn't want the independent cat groups to threaten them with change that might mean they don't look up to the royals anymore, or they don't want the royals to rule over them. So yeah, she is gonna sabotage the other clans. Okay. Okay. So we are gonna be going through, I think, a very rough period. Hopefully because we found, you know, some of the female servants, but also we're having our queen who's currently pregnant, and our population so far looks decent. Hopefully we're going to be able to breed up, and we are going to be able to maintain like a good population throughout the wars and stuff that no doubt are going to come. But okay, let me wrap things up here and we'll continue with the cat list. Okay, let's take a look at the cat list. So first up, the thing I am most curious about, as I'm sure we all are, is loyalties. We need to see, how do the cats feel about Garlic Star being a leader and maybe her new focus for the clan. So guys, here we go. Yeah, it's looking rough. Garlic Star is in a clan full of anti-loyalists. In fact, the only cat that is loyal to her is her mate, Icicle Speck, which is such a change from King Fernstar, who had, yes, the clan split, but towards the end, he had way more, more loyalists than not. I think the last I counted, this was actually before Magpie died, but I think before her death was 8 loyalists and 6 anti-loyalists. So after her death, it would have been 7 loyalists and 6 anti-loyalists. But still, more than half were on his side. Garlic Star, obviously, it's very different with her as queen. And I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that King Fernstar was in the clan from the very beginning, from its, initial foundations, and he kind of worked his way up the king's court into becoming king himself. Whereas Garlicstar, she was kind of brought in from the outside, doesn't really know much about clan life, or I think a lot of the royals feel as though, even though she was essential to the clan and raised to nobility, she is not the best choice for leader because she isn't a royal. She still doesn't count as a royal, even though she is a queen herself, because that is something only the founding cats and their offspring can claim. So I don't know how the cats, they obviously don't feel too good about being royals ruled by a noble queen. So it's a bit complicated in that regard. That aside, a lot of them, for a huge portion of their lives, have been used to living in an age of peace under King Fernstar. And I don't think they want to go back to an unstable sort of life under the new queen, Garlicstar. She's wanting to sabotage the other clans, whatever reasons she has for doing so. Our royal cats don't really believe in that. And I don't know if you guys remember, but in the very beginning, we did have in season 1, we had a crossover with the end of Luminous clan, and one of our she-cats, I think, ended up going to the Crystal River where Luminous clan used to live, and they met with the lost Luminous leader, the lost Luminous clan leader, where, she kind of told our royal cat the story of the Luminous cats, their downfall, and they kind of state why they ended, where they ended. And those stories, that almost myth that it has become, it was brought back, and I think it has become part of the wider history, world history for even our royal cats. And if there's something they've learned from those stories of the Luminous cats who died out, it was a troublesome leader who brought about their end. And I think that's something they don't want to repeat. Not only that, I'm pretty sure the very first king that royal clan had with King Canary Star, we used to be caught up in a lot of wars. And I think when Fernstar took power, a lot of the cats were very, very happy and thankful that they weren't going to have to be, on their tiptoes. They weren't going to have to worry so much about impending wars and such, that they could enjoy peace. And now it's almost as though the clan's regressing. A lot of them who are around during that time are maybe worried that the clan is going to be sent back to those dark ages. And the younger cats who haven't really experienced war but have heard the stories of Luminous clan and maybe their own history, they don't want that kind of life. Now Icicle Spec, I feel like he's a bit blinded by his love for Garlicstar, and he's doing a little bit of what he used to do in the beginning of their relationship, which is indulge her troublemaking and support her regardless of whether or not what she's doing is right, to make her happy. And I think Icicle Spec maybe feels that he can deal with the consequences of Garlicstar's choices. I don't know if he's gonna feel the same way in the future, but that is how he feels now. And I mean, I'm pretty sure even in Vampire Clan, we have seen clan leaders whose family, entire family, has been killed off because of their constant, them being embroiled in wars, and their constant choices to kind of put the clan in the line of fire. So we've seen it with the vampires that clan leaders oftentimes, they can lose their offspring, they can lose their mate. So I don't know if Icicle Spec's opinion on this will, obviously he's going to support Garlicstar for the remainder of her time on the throne. He's a loyalist for life, and it makes a lot of sense because he's a mate and they love each other so much. But still, I wonder if he's going to regret the support down the line, if it at some point affects Garlicstar, it affects their children particularly. I don't think Garlicstar might be too badly affected because she has the 9 lives, but if it touches their children, he might think differently. But okay, that is what we have for loyalties. And then in terms of relationships, there were a few things I noticed. The first was with Queen Garlic Star herself. She has, guys, max love with Icicle Spec. She's absolutely and utterly in love with him. And it's like there's no more love to be had. Like, it's just nothing can get between them at this point. That is how in love she is with him. She's given her heart and her soul to him pretty much. So you can see very much why maybe Icicle Spec and Garlic Star are so tightly connected and why he might be a loyalist. Now, the next thing that I noticed was with Icicle Spec. He had a few things going for him. So Icicle Spec, he also has max love for Queen Garlic Star. So yeah, he's definitely blinded by his love for the new queen. And then, this surprised me a little bit, but he has a new romance with Inkfeather. Inkfeather, who does not feel the same way. I mean, Inkfeather, her whole life was just loyal to King Fernstar. Regardless of whatever attention she might have had from some of the other cats, she was always loyal to him. She never looked at anyone else, never had feelings for anyone else, and it is the same right now. But I think, from Icicle Spec, this is probably him sympathizing with her and, maybe wanting to give her some emotional support. So I don't think he is necessarily attracted to her or looking, for something other than his queen, but I think he just, knowing his own relationship with Queen Garlic Star, is maybe looking at Inkfeather be absolutely distraught over the death of King Fernstar, and he knows how much Inkfeather loved Fernstar, and he's thinking, how would I feel if I was in that position? I would feel like my entire world was destroyed. So I think this is just him sympathizing with her a little bit. Okay, and then we had a change with Shining Stripe. Shining Stripe, guys, has had a romance loss with Icicle Spec. So he had one bar when we left off, and he'd had that for a while, even though nothing was happening with it. I think he maintained that from the time of their breakup, but now finally it's kind of going down. It's gone down even more, less than half at this point. So yeah, Shining Stripe, I think at this point, now that Icicle Spec is expecting a litter with the queen, Shining Stripe is starting to completely entirely, those memories they had from the younger days, it's fading almost in its entirety. And then the final thing I noticed was with Bearpelt. Bearpelt, who has had a romance gain with Foxclaw. Foxclaw, who his brother, Bearpelt's brother Shining Stripe, has taken a liking to. I mean, Bearpelt's shameless, so I don't feel like he's ever felt the need to back off from something his brother has had an interest with. I mean, it was the same with Icicle Spec, and I feel like maybe there was another cat, before Icicle Spec was the thing that they had a triangle between. Actually, it might have been between the princes, and Shining Stripe came in later on, but yeah, Bearpelt, I don't think he feels the need, despite how close he is to his brother, to back off. And I almost wonder if Shining Stripe showing attention to Foxclaw kind of ignited a bit of competitiveness in Bearpelt, and suddenly he wanted to see what was so exciting about Foxclaw compared to, his brother Ghostfeather. So that's what we have with relationships. Now, obviously, we don't have to go and do any matchmaking, but in terms of the changes that has happened in the Queen's Court, so Icicle Spec is now the Queen's right hand, Inkfeather has been reappointed as the royal physician, and Shining Stripe has re-entered the Queen's Court as the new matchmaker. But like I said, because Garlic Star is pregnant, we're obviously not having any matchmaking sessions or anything like that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what everyone's doing for the day. Queen Garlic Star saw a kitty pet with the fluffiest fur imaginable today. Icicle Spec thinks Queen Garlic Star could be leading the clan better. Okay, look at that. Icicle Spec, despite being a loyalist to his mate, maybe feels as though her choosing to sabotage the other cat groups, their allies essentially, might not be the best move. Maybe she could do other things like gather herbs or gather resources or focus on hunting rather than irritating the allies. But at the same time, part of his love is letting Garlic Star do what she wants and him kind of dealing with it. So yes, he thinks she could be leading the clan better, but he's not going to tell her that she should be leading the clan better. But also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but with Icicle Spec, he actually found some herbs when I was playing off camera, and he decided to wear that on his pelt. So, I mean, it looks really cute. But yeah, he's got these herbs on his pelt now that he chooses to wear. Inkfeather sang a song in memory of King Fernstar at the vigil. Oh, Inkfeather. I feel like she's handling his death quite well, actually. She's handling his death quite well. Maybe she has no regrets because she knows she loved him the best she could, and she did everything right by him. Shining Stripe had a nice chat with a kitty pet. Flare Freckle is feeling perplexed. Bear Pelt very loudly corrects something someone said wrong off-portly. Quill Runner told a fond story at King Fernstar's vigil. Frostfade wants to critique Bear Pelt's fighting techniques. Foxclaw can't find Frostfade anywhere. Ghostfeather helped bury King Fernstar, leaving his favorite prey at the grave. So even Ghostfeather has been it kind of makes sense though that Fernstar's favorite son, Foxclaw, is taking his death really hard, and then Ghostfeather, Inkfeather's favorite son, he's kind of keeping himself more put together, and I suppose is also helping to maybe emotionally support his mother. Because, I mean, she is the royal physician. She kind of has to keep going. Freezefur wishes he had wings so he could catch birds easier. Scorchmoss is recounting daring expeditions for the younger cats. And Flailstorm is chattering at the birds in the trees above. Okay, so let's wrap up over here and continue with patrols. Okay, we are resuming with our patrols. We obviously don't have a lot of cats going out today, but we currently have 157 prey and we only need 35. Let me send out Inkfeather, the royal physician. I have to get used to the new roles again to see what she can find. Greenleaf is truly the best time of year to be a medicine cat, with the world so full of flowers and green growth. Inkfeather heads out to gather fresh goldenrod for the stores. So proceed. Inkfeather is distracted today and it affects her work. The patrol is unsuccessful. No doubt when she's out alone on her own, she's thinking about Fernstar a little bit more. Maybe about that last patrol they had, where she couldn't kind of tell that his life was fading only because she was so happy that he was spending time with her. She didn't look to see, how his health was doing. He thought that because he was in a good mood, he was kind of in good spirits, he was in good health as well. Okay, and now we're sending out Freezefur, Ghostfeather, Quill Runner, and Flare Freckle. Let's see what they get up to. Wait, no, I think we should be fine. As the patrol is marking the borderlines, a gang of rogues strides out of the brush, challenging the clan cats. I think we're okay because it's not an ambush. The only time I'll freak out is if we have an ambush. Proceed. The rogues posture and jeer, eventually provoking a battle. The clan cats are strong, however, and the rogues seem to be weakened by hunger. The patrol easily drives the intruders away. So I wonder if, with the appointment of the new queen, some of the rogue cats in the area kind of got wind that the clan was weak, or, the cats in the grotto, they had weakened because they just lost their king. And this was a good chance for our warriors to actually stand up and put together a strong front and say, no, we are not weak, we're still strong. Everything, and we have a strong leader, everything within the clan is fine. But obviously, based on the size of the patrol we had, we know that a lot of the cats are not fine because they're grieving, but these guys did a really good job at keeping, any potential trouble away. So okay, that is all we managed to get done today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.